What's up guys, CD here, and we're going to be doing a review of today's Premier League football, an exciting slate of games. A lot of thoughts that I had going into the weekend have either proven true or wildly incorrect. So we'll be covering the key games of today, obviously the key fixtures pertaining around Arsenal and Man City as they continue to challenge for the title. We're also going to cover some of the key games in terms of relegation battle as well. But you can look at the table now and you can see that Arsenal got the job done against Brighton and Man City got the job done against Crystal Palace. We'll be covering those in a little bit of detail as well. So again, as mentioned, we had a slate of Premier League games today. Kicked off with the Man City 4-2 victory over Crystal Palace. Man City actually went down at the beginning of this game, so Mateta got an early goal, and as much as rival fans could have enjoyed that moment, you knew there was too much time on the clock for Man City to find a reply, and within 10 minutes Kevin De Bruyne was able to do that. He, in my opinion, dragged Man City to that victory, if I'm being honest with you. That was a captain's performance, a goal and 2 assists. Rico Lewis got a goal as well, Haaland got a goal as well, and again, it was impressive to see them fight back. Crystal Palace has been a bogey team for them for quite a while, so when that goal went in, you thought it might be a long afternoon for them. I think from an attacking perspective, Palace can be proud of themselves somewhat. 2 goals against Man City, you know, it's not like you're going to be banking on many more, but defensively, I think they could have stifled the amount of goals that they conceded, if I'm being honest. But again, 4-2 to Man City, well-deserved victory, and I think they dominated pretty much majority of the game. Nothing major to call out. Yeah, as you can see the momentum here, dominated large parts of the game and run out deserved winners, and you know they did their job, and it put pressure on Arsenal later on in the day. And so we'll just quickly go over to that game, Brighton versus Arsenal. We know that Brighton have only lost once at home this whole season. That was to West Ham much earlier in the season, and again it would be up to Arsenal to dictate and control the game, which they've been doing pretty much throughout the whole of 2024. And they did it against Brighton, one of the harder teams to do it against, with the amount of pressing that they do, with the way they set up themselves to play, high intensity. It was a lot on Arsenal to deal with, and they dealt with it superbly. Starting off with the Saka penalty that was won by Gabriel Jesus. I think he did well. He scooped it just over the foot of Lamptey, but for me that was awful defending by Lamptey, if I'm being honest with you. I'd expect so much more from my fullback, and again, good work from Jesus to win the penalty. Saka to slot it away. It put Arsenal 1-0 up, and nowadays when you see Arsenal with a lead, more times than not, you think they're going to see it out, and they built on that in the second half. Goal from Kai Havertz and an assist for Kai Havertz for Leandro Trossard, who scored against his former team, which was impressive. Kai runs out as the man of the match. I think he was superb, and people always focus on goals and assists, and they are markers for, you know, good performances. But if you just look at his in-between play and what he does outside of that, it's really, really impressive. It's really, really helpful for the midfield as well. The amount of pressing he does, the amount of harrying he does. You saw the opportunity he had when he harried Dunk and then he got a goal. Those are attributes you want in a striker in Mikel's system. I think we saw the opposite of that when Aubameyang was there, and Mikel did different ways of trying to, you know, minimise the impact of having someone who's not working as hard. Kai is like his dream striker. The height, the physicality, the link-up play, can improve on the finishing, no doubt. But I think the more time he gets playing up front for Arsenal, the better he will do. And again, I think it was a game that was up and down. Brighton had their moments for sure. However, I think, again, as you can see in the game, Arsenal were in pretty much total control near enough the end. And that is a difficult game to come out with a victory on. They're all going to be difficult games. The game for City was difficult. The game for Arsenal was difficult. And the game for Liverpool tomorrow against Man United is going to be very difficult. Or one would assume, given the history that they had in the FA Cup game earlier this season, and also the long storied rivalry that they have in general. So that's going to be really interesting. See if they can keep up the pace. I've got to give my hat off to the teams involved: Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool. It's a mark of excellence, and I wouldn't be surprised if Liverpool come from behind once again. In terms of key games outside of the title race, Aston Villa versus Brentford, I mean, I was watching it for a part, namely when it was 2-2, and I was thinking, okay, this game has already turned up a madness. Is it going to happen again? And yeah, twice it did. Brentford needed to come up with something during this game. You saw at the end of the game, Tony, who'd come off the bench, was arguing with Collins, and that just shows there's a bit of lack of harmony within the team, if I'm being honest with you. Whether Brentford can continue, keeping their place in the Premier League, I think they will, but they're going to need to buck up their ideas in the summer, if I'm being honest with you. They need to bring in more quality to stifle. I think the players that they've got are doing, really well, but they're going to need to add on that, and hopefully the Tony sell will do that for them during the game as well. Key people I want to call out, and key things I want to call out: McGinn, again, Super John McGinn. What can you say? I think he's criminally underrated, if I'm being honest with you. Douglas Luiz, who picked up the yellow card, will be out for Aston Villa's next Premier League game, or I believe the next 2 Premier League games, which is a big miss for them as well. Villa, who we see sit 4th, and Brentford, who are just 4 points outside the relegation zone, which is scary for them, to be honest with you. And again, Aston Villa, from their side, they should have seen out the game. They should have won the game. You go from 2-0 up to 2-2, and then you end with a draw in a game that you really needed to win. If we talk about the top 4 race, which we'll probably get into, I think Man United have fallen off unless they can do something big on the weekend. But this opens up the door for Tottenham to go potentially 3 points clear with their games in hand. And with the position that Aston Villa have seen themselves in majority of the season, this is a game that I think they'll be disappointed at dropping points at as well. Another game that we'll cover briefly is the Everton win against Burnley. Again, key game for the relegation battle. Dominic Calvert-Lewin with the goal in the first half. Impressive. 2 goals for him after he had a long goal drought. So long may that continue for Everton. I personally want to see them stay up, if I'm being honest with you. Newcastle versus Fulham. Newcastle get the goal in the second half. I believe they had a goal ruled out by Bruno Guimaraes, and then they were able to get another one actually where he was able to slot that away. So Newcastle picked a 1-0 win up against Fulham, which going into the game I knew would be kind of an intense game. I thought there would be more goals, if I'm being honest with you, but Newcastle ran out deserved winners in my opinion, and they seem to have the pressure on Fulham for majority of the game. And if I'm being honest as well, I feel like Fulham are up and down. I think that's reflected in their league position, 13th at the moment. They will be happy with that, no doubt about it. Newcastle will be slightly disappointed with their position, although if you look at it, they're less than a point away from West Ham, Man United. I think top 5, if I'm being honest, looks out of reach for majority of those teams. But again, they're going to fight to potentially get into the Europa League, potentially. Looking at the final game we'll cover today, it's the 2-1 victory for Luton against Bournemouth. Going into this game, I knew it was going to be tight. Bournemouth, I thought, would potentially run out as victors, given how potent they are attacking wise, but Luton at home are no joke and nobody to be messed with, and they came back from 1-0 down. The goal from Clark and the goal from Clinton Morris in the 90th minute getting the job done for Luton. And this relegation battle was hotting up. I might even have to do a video on it. Luton, I think Burnley are probably cut adrift now, but Luton, Nottingham Forest, Brentford could be in it. If Brentford are in it, potentially Everton maybe as well. Crystal Palace, can you rule them out? Actually, those teams are still in an element of danger depending on how the rest of the season goes. So if we just review the league table at the moment, you'll see Arsenal are top, potentially temporarily, before Liverpool go and play. Man United, Man City are keeping under pressure, as we've mentioned. Aston Villa are in a little bit of trouble, and we'll see how Tottenham perform in their game against Sheffield United, I believe. Man United have a big job on with them. We didn't cover the West Ham versus Wolves game, but there was some controversy at the end of that in regards to a disallowed goal for Wolves. And I believe James Ward-Prowse scored from a corner as well. So big props to West Ham as they maintain their position, and they've got their next game against Fulham, which I think from their side they'll be hoping to build on momentum, given that Fulham are on back-to-back defeats at the moment. So guys, this has been the review show. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Make sure to leave your comments in the description. Hope you're all looking forward to the football tomorrow. We're going to be covering that as well, seeing how Liverpool perform against Man United and covering the other games in the Premier League. But again, hopefully you've enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys soon. Peace.